Council, if you will take a look at your agenda for this evening, ordinance is under final reading. We have something on the legal and transportation. Any comments or questions, please feel free to hit your like. Right, ordinance on the first reading. All right, resolutions. Comments or questions? If you will take a look at next week's proposed, I'm sorry, we don't have a next week's proposed
No, we
agenda.
don't. I think that was all you
We are out,
right there.
as a reminder, we will not be here next Tuesday because
Yeah,
next Tuesday is
yes,
Independence Day. It is July 4th and we shall not be here. Purchasing questions, we have two purchases, very light agenda this evening. Okay, two purchases. Any questions? All right. Future considerations, so you take a look at that 3-week look ahead, any comments or questions? I'm sorry. You still disabled?
Yeah.
Open discussion, go for it. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead, try to hit it now.
All right. Okay, under planning, A and B there,
Okay,
I guess I need to ask Phil, is this the same location that council turned down before?
We were, at least the location 9207 Lee Highway, I believe, is the same location. These are different applicants at this point in time requesting a special exceptions permit for a liquor store, which has already been turned down once at this location by this body.
By this body?
Yes, ma'am.
It's at the corner of Bonnie Oaks and Lee Highway, I believe.
Yes, ma'am. We'll confirm, but I believe that's the location.
But that is the same location?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And this body at least can give us instructions. I need to confirm the status of the ongoing litigation concerning that matter, whether it is already dismissed or if it's still pending as well.
Okay.
And I'll do that.
Okay, so do we have any idea when, July 11th?
Yes, ma'am. So it's, sounds to me like you might want to at least put it off an additional week to at least confirm.
Well, you know what, since this is coming from your office, why don't you let us know?
We will let you know.
And then I'll defer it to whenever you say.
Yes,
when
ma'am.
it comes up, okay?
Ma'am, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
all right, is that it, Councilwoman?
Yes, I am.
All right. All right, any other questions or comments about future considerations? Councilman Ledford.
Madam Chair, on that point, Dr. Burrs and Dr. Burrs' district on the special exceptions permit, that was or is still in litigation or tied up in the courts?
That's what I've got to confirm, at least at this point in time. I thought there had been a ruling in the trial court, but I believe it's on appeal in the Tennessee Court of Appeals right now.
And do we accept applications for special exceptions? Do we check, basically, is what I'm asking, before this gets onto our agenda and can cause quite a hiccup? I mean, if we were to move through and approve this while it's in an appeal status, wouldn't that cause a bit of a quandary legally?
It clearly would be an issue if there is a separate party going on. The issue about the denial of that location would still have to be considered, but I have to determine on our end of it whether that location is still on appeal right now, and for the reasons this body gave initially as to turning it down. If that's been approved, then we're good.
Okay. All right, thank you for the clarification. Yep, thank you, Madam Chair.
Right, thank you, Councilman Ledford. Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've a process question, I guess, more than anything. Since we don't have a 2-week agenda, I had a board appointment that would have been on the 2-week agenda.
Okay.
So will that person be on the agenda, I guess, on the 11th?
They should be on the agenda.
Without, so, okay.
Yes, so that.
Without it, so it will not have appeared, that appointment will not have appeared on a 2-week agenda anywhere. It's just going to show up on the 11th.
It should be, the agendas typically are available, I believe, Thursday or Friday. So it's in the amount of time, the time frame that we need it to be available in.
Okay.
Do you want to push it out to the 18th?
I'm sorry?
Would you like it to show up on the 18th?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, no, it'd be the 11th, wouldn't it?
yes, the 11th.
The 11th.
Unless you want it on the July.
No, the 11th is fine.
Fine,
I
okay.
But like I said, this council will not have seen
The
that
appointments.
name on a 2-week agenda.
Okay.
It'll just be on the current agenda when it shows up.
Yes, it will.
Okay,
Okay,
we're good.
okay. All right, any other questions about future considerations? Phil, did you have anything? Okay, all right. Departmental reports, we don't have any departmental reports, and today we have two committees. We have Parks and Public Works Committee and a Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Also, we do have a attorney-client meeting following those committees. Any other comments or questions? All right, that's it. That adjourns agenda session. And we'll turn it over to Parks and Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome to Parks and Public Works Committee. Can we accept the minutes? Madam Clerk. Resolution 7, wait a minute, before we start, we have the head of Public Works here.
Present.
Welcome. Come on up. Ben, bring him up, Ben. Oh, man.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me up here. I'm Ross Pitcairn. I'm the new Public Works Administrator. I'm glad to be here and be part of the Chattanooga team. It's been an awesome week and a half so far, and I look forward to working with all of you here.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it, Ross.
At times. I'm sure Scott will rub off on me sometimes. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, 7B, please.
A resolution authorizing the Administrator for the Department of Parks and Outdoors and the Aquatics Recreation Manager to waive fees of $300 for the pool at Warner Park for the children and their mothers residing at Room in the Inn on Monday, July 31, 2023, from 5:30 PM to 7:30 PM.
I see no hands. C, please.
A resolution adopting the Parks and Outdoors Plan in an effort to establish a public vision for the future of parks and the outdoors in Chattanooga.
See no. Chip Henderson. Councilman Henderson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, I don't know if you want to field this or if Mr. Martin wants to field this question. One, I guess I've got one question. I mean, this is it's a very thorough parks plan. And it doesn't seem to be too rigid, but I just want to make sure that it leaves us the ability to call an audible if we need to. So, you know, if we need, I don't know, 36 parks instead of 34, or this plan is not so rigid that we're not able to call an audible if we need to, correct?
Why don't I ask Scott to come up to talk about that? But I do think that anytime we have the council's support to be a little bit more expansive, we would appreciate the council's support.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson, for the question. The answer is no, it is not that prescriptive in terms of you will do this many or thou shalt not do any more. If the opportunity avails itself, we would advance it further. The numbers of new parks, the numbers of new acreages are almost a minimum of what it would take if you know to the whole plan, because that moves us to 55% of our community with what we want of close-to-home parks. Any opportunity to advance that would, of course, come to the council for your consideration.
And I did notice there was a couple of places in where it's uses the word fixing some of our existing parks. And then what's the prescription for that?
Sure, we've got a list, don't hold me to this, I don't have it in front of me, I believe 49 sites that we've had repair schedules set for. Those range from replace, in some sites, let me give you an easy one. In Coolidge, just hypothetically, it could be replace the electrical work underneath of that spray ground that's been a little bit of an issue lately.
Yeah.
At Carver, it could be a full redo of the park. So we have those prescriptions listed for each one of our existing parks.
Okay, and was that in the book that I have, or did I miss it?
No, sir, those are back of our office numbers. I'll be happy to share those with you.
Okay, and I guess the other thing I was concerned about is trying to get into the 21st century and being competitive in putting turf fields down at our athletic facilities, particularly creating multi-use turf fields.
Yep.
I didn't see a specific plan for that. It just seemed like it addressed it sort of benign.
Yeah, it's a more detailed look than that, and I can nerd out with you to probably just drive you nuts, but what we're interested in is the playable surface days per year. If you have a good, zoysia, Bermuda type surface, you get so many days out of it. When we move to an artificial surface, you get more days out of it. So if we don't have acreage to add natural surface turfs, that's when you want to start to look at your artificial surfaces, because that expands your playability.
So like last week, I think we had 500 softball teams in, and it rained pretty much every day, but we were able to get games in.
Yeah, we were only able to get those games in because of the investment you made on the artificial surfaces at Warner.
Exactly. Okay. And then there's, I think, a few numbers that probably need to be looked at as well.
Yeah, you and I discussed it. There are a couple editing fixes we need to make in the depth of the document in terms of numbers, and I will get those squared away to you immediately.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You good, Council?
Thank you, Chair.
7D, please.
A resolution for the City of Chattanooga to apply for and, if awarded, accept a Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee Blue Care grant for an activation trailer to be used for the Grow and Go program in the amount of $70,000.
E, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a conservation services agreement for 2023 through 2024 with the Trust for Public Land in substantially the form attached for a term of 1 year from July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024, for an amount not to exceed $150,000 to be paid in 4 quarterly installments of $37,500.
Thank you. F, please.
A resolution authorizing the appointment of Amanda Hickman as a special police officer, unarmed, for the City of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority, to do special duty as prescribed herein in the position of parking ambassador, certain to subject conditions.
Can we just take all the rest from G to L, please? Thank you.
Item G, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Destiny Ward as a special police officer, unarmed, for the City of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority, to do special duty as prescribed herein in the position of parking ambassador, subject to certain conditions. Item H, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Timothy Stevens as a special police officer, unarmed, for the City of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority, to do special duty as prescribed herein in the position of parking ambassador, subject to certain conditions. Item I, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Trinity Douglas as a special police officer, unarmed, for the City of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority, to do special duty as prescribed herein in the position as parking ambassador, subject to certain conditions. Item J, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Janet Countryman as a special police officer, unarmed, for the City of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority, to do special duty as prescribed herein in the position as parking ambassador, subject to certain conditions. Item K, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Nathaniel Begg as a special police officer, unarmed, for the City of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority, to do special duty as prescribed herein in the position of parking ambassador, subject to certain conditions. Item L, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Lloyd Harriod as a special police officer, unarmed, for the City of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority, to do special duty as prescribed herein in the position as parking ambassador, subject to certain conditions.
See no hands in, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Wastewater to award contract number W-21-012-103 to Jacobs Engineering Group, Inc. for professional services for program management of the consent decree implementation for year 2 of 5 with 3 annual renewals for an amount not to exceed $3.3 million.
I see no hands. That concludes Parks and Public Works. I want to publicly thank Ryan for all the work, all the service you did in the interim. And Ross, we're looking for big things from you. Scott, Martin, thank you for all you do. Appreciate it. Next, we have the Budget and Finance Committee. Carol Burke. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you, sir. Ryan, I've never seen you with a bigger smile and a sigh of release. Ross. Keep smiling. Call to order Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Approval of the minutes, please. Any opposed? Okay, so this you all have in your packet, the questions that we asked during the budget education sessions. And Councilman Henderson, I believe it was you that said, let's do this in a regular agenda session. We don't need to have another education session. And so this is the response from administration. Councilwoman Hill has asked that we put short-term vacation rentals to the Hill because she's going to be late. So let's start with hotel motel tax issues. I don't remember who asked which question. Are there still questions, or is there more information needed here? All right, I'm
There we
selecting
go.
next.
I believe
You got it?
I believe I'm live.
Go for it.
So I think the question was, what can the funds be used for? I mean, what this question says, basically, and I think we passed a resolution when Mr. Goldberg was here that loosened, I guess, at least what the city spent that funding for. It typically had always been used to pay the bond for the riverfront, plus any repairs that was needed on the riverfront. But I think we loosened those guidelines a little bit. We expanded the scope of where those funds could be spent, and I'm not sure that we have, at least this new council, have a good understanding of how those funds can currently be used.
Okay, so they were very limited. Jermaine? And you may not have that answer right away,
Well, I
but
was going to ask our CFO to come up to speak to this.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. Vicky, sorry.
That's okay. The second bullet on your response says that the legislation was changed to be tourist promotion or development within the city. And it's a pretty broad use. I actually copied the TCA section, and it says it can be used for, that tourism means attracting non-residents to visit a particular municipality and encouraging those non-residents to spend money in the municipality, which includes travel related to both leisure and business activities. Tourism development means the acquisition and construction of, and financing and retirement of debt for, and facilities related to tourism. It's broad.
You have a follow-up, Councilman? It is very broad.
Well, yeah, so basically, what I understand, we can use it throughout or anywhere throughout the city,
Anywhere in the city.
as long as it relates to the tourism industry. Is that how you interpret?
Tourism
that?
and tourism development within
Yeah.
the city of Chattanooga.
Okay.
As long as we pay the debt service first.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct. What, do you have that amount?
What's left on the bonds?
Well, what's left and what that yearly amount, I don't remember offhand.
I don't have the total with me right now, but it's an annual debt service of about, I think it was $4 million through February of 2031.
And you don't remember what's outstanding on that?
I do not, I've looked at that a couple of times, I can easily get that for you.
Okay. Doing? Yeah, so what's the revenue off of the hotel motel?
You're asking questions I wasn't ready for. Okay. Revenue each year, okay,
Yeah,
okay. I'll get that,
okay,
okay.
I think that's it.
Are you good?
Yeah,
This is, I have a question.
Okay.
So if we didn't spend it, would we retire the bonds earlier?
Not unless we refund them. There's a bond payment schedule out there that we.
Right, and we're always refunding
Oh,
to
these have
get a
been
better
refunded
deal.
about
instead-
6 times.
Okay,
But in today's interest rate environment, I don't see that being something we would do.
yeah. I was just wondering, that's always been kind of there for us, you know, kind of the elephant. And I was just wondering, would it free us to use our bonds for other things? Just a curious question. No answer, you don't have to. Got it.
Got
Anything
total
else?
outstanding and revenue generated.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so let's do Councilman Smith.
That'd be Ledford first.
Darren?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Dr. Burrs. Hey, Vicki, real quick, sorry. When you said 4 million, can you clarify what that number was associated with again, please?
The 4 million is the total debt service on an annual basis. It's not exactly 4 million, or it's
Close enough.
It's
but-
close.
Yeah, and how much, well, I think we already answered, we don't know how much we're collecting, because I understand it fluctuates every year.
I will have to look and see. I did not bring that with me.
Okay, since we've changed the parameters on the use of the funds, has there been, do we have a dollar amount that could possibly be, you could provide us? I don't know if you refer to it on your books as surplus or revenue in excess of the debt.
How much reserves are out there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yep. That was the correct accounting term. Thank you.
correct. And we are using 4.5 million for 24
4.5 million.
for
Okay.
Walnut Street Bridge.
Yep. I remember seeing that in the budget.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the other questions, Councilman Henderson will help me out. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Burrs.
Okay.
Hang on, okay.
Working on getting my mic turned on. Okay, there we go.
It's on, yeah.
Along those lines, I saw the number a little over 4 million throughout the schedule on the bond. And knowing that those funds are available for tourist-related items, and because they are restricted, do you have an idea, or can you respond with an idea when you're doing some research as to what we've been doing with the balance of what we typically get in per year? So, you know, if we're receiving, 10 million or 12 million a year off of the hotel motel taxes, and we're putting 4.5 to debt service, where's the rest been going?
We've been appropriating some for capital. I just pulled for 22, 23, and 24. 22, we only used $500,000 for riverfront capital projects. 23, we put some money toward the Tivoli capital. And for 24, we're doing Walnut Street Bridge.
Okay. In the past, the last
Further
couple of
than-
years would be helpful.
Okay, go back
Yes.
further. How far back do you want to go?
Just a couple of years would be great.
Okay.
You good?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome.
I do have a question. Just one more. we've used the money for issues around downtown, right? Is it your
This is
understanding?
only waterfront that we've used it previously.
Yeah. But now it can be anywhere, right?
If it's tourist related.
I got that. So can it be used for parks?
If we decide that that's tourist related, we can talk about it. Scott's gonna be happy.
Oh, he's nodding.
Yeah, the thing I'm thinking is we're known for our parks. People come to our parks. Our parks take a lot of different shapes and sizes. So who decides whether it's tourist related or not? Who defines it?
I think we've got the definition. It's whatever brings tourists to the city. Walnut Street Bridge, is that part of the park?
Okay, okay. Or races, or, okay, thank you.
We'll have to work within the confines of TCA, past
I
that.
would not for a million years want to go against the TCA, but, okay. Any other questions on hotel motel taxes? All right, let's go to Nova Global. And I don't remember what that question was. Whoever asked it, is the answer satisfactory? All right, let's go to list of city vehicles and to whom they are assigned, and we did get that. Are there any additional questions or concerns?
We got that list?
Yeah, you got a list that had, it was a very long list. Would you like it sent out again?
Please, because I might have, I could have overlooked it, but I don't remember.
It was a departmental assignment as opposed to an individual name assignment. You would like it again?
Yes, ma'am, please.
All right.
Thank you.
Whoever is the magic person that sends out the list, they would do it again. The 22nd century temp contract, that's had a lot of discussion. I don't remember who ultimately sent this in. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I had a couple of questions. One, and I had asked it previously in our session when we met talking about the budget. And it was stated then that it really doesn't save us any money by contracting with them. So I'm not sure why we're even contracting with them for temp help. When originally Brent, he said at this podium, and we can pull up the records, is that it was only going to be used for like temporary work for like summer and that kind of stuff. But it wasn't going to be for, garbage and IT, all the other positions that have been added on. It was just for that little small portion of it, but it's still been extended. Then my other concerns is that, so if it's not saving us any money, when can we cancel this contract with them? And because I know we signed for like 3 years or so. And then the other thing is, once the temp workers have been getting hired, in the contract it's saying that they have to work under this temp agency for a year before they transition over. And they shouldn't have to work for a whole entire year just to prove that they're worthy of working with the city of Chattanooga before they're transitioned over. They could let them go at the temp agency after they've worked all this time, the 364th day, and let them go after they've been doing due diligence with it. I just like for it to be reevaluated and see. I mean, yeah, we can say, well, at least the people got a job, but yeah, working and at the expense of temp that they can be let go at any time, and then the insurance benefits, like it's just so much more. And we're paying $1 million and so for this contract when that's $1 million that could be going into impoverished communities or to our recreation centers. It could be going to roof repair. It could be, the funds could be, that money could be used for so much other stuff.
So I imagine this would be Ryan. Do you have a question of Ryan?
Yeah, when can we cancel this contract?
Ryan?
I mean, it just doesn't seem like it's beneficial to us.
Yeah, so to your point, Councilwoman, it looks like this contract is a 3-year contract with an option to renew 2 additional 1-year terms after that. So we'll evaluate it when it comes up for renewal at that point. So obviously it has conditions within the contract that the vendor has to meet or that, that we have to meet. So if those terms are not met, then we can look at, some other options there, but that's what we're bound to at this time.
Okay, so who keep coming up with these ideas to source out if it's not really beneficial to us? Like, that makes no sense. I mean, you all supposed to be the experts here, but this clearly, it doesn't make any sense. It's costing us more money, or could we just, I understand the contract, but most temp agencies, if you can utilize them if you want to, you don't have to. We can just directly hire them through our own portal. So can we just start doing that instead of just referring people to go through this agency?
Yes, sir. I mean, we, with any position we have, we can choose whether to, make that a full-time position or a temp position. Obviously, full-time positions are positions that have to be, approved within the budget ordinance. Temporary positions have more flexibility in terms of, being able to be brought on or expended. And so there's more flexibility there. You're able to fluctuate with seasonality differently. And so there are certain advantages to temporary services because of those kinds of different dynamics. And that comes with a price tag. The other advantage is that the temporary service agency helps find and hire the talent versus our HR department and having to go help find and hire the talent. We have to pay for that. That's part of the contract. And so there's pros and cons to each model, but it helps complement our staffing model and what we do. And then so that's why we use it.
Okay, so with the violence interrupters and the victim services that you all just recently added to the list for people to apply for to go through the company, to my understanding, we paid the guy consultant $250,000 to come up with, solutions to reduce violence and gun violence, particularly in the city of Chattanooga, or gun violence, gang, or whatever way you want to put it. He's been here a couple of times. Now we're to the point we're saying, okay, we're going to hire some additional people to be interrupters, violent interrupters. Now, for them, and it's 6 months, it's temp, but this organization out of town, this temp agency is out of town. They have no built relationships to say we're going to weed and seed out who will be perfect to be the boots on the ground to go to these communities where people are running from bullets. So I'm not sure how you could have used somebody that's already doing the work. It's a lot of ways that you could have done it instead of going through this temp agency that's out of Virginia. That would have, I don't agree with it. And again, I mean, I think we should have the authority to cancel the contracts at any given time. Have you all had any success with this temp agency finding people to drive the garbage trucks?
We don't use them to drive the garbage trucks. In terms of some of the labor positions for slingers on the back of garbage trucks, yes, we've had some success and helping fill in some of the gaps in terms of some of the labor positions. So, and again, one of the big places they help us with is some of the summer work in terms of some of the summer positions that we need to fill. We're still fairly early on in terms of the contract with this particular company. They have stood up a local office here to help kind of get up and going here and to build up of a stronger local presence. So it's a work in progress. I think there's a lot of growing pains in terms of getting that up and going because it's still kind of early on.
Okay, I didn't know we was giving money for startups, but hey, if you think it's worthwhile, I'll bring it up if I'm here and when the contract is in, but it's just a reminder that we need to start thoroughly reading over the contracts before we just start agreeing to say that we want this on board for the city of Chattanooga, but we were misled from the beginning to think that it was only for summer temp work. And then it's done expanded since then. So you can't, I'd rather be told the truth on the front end and then to be misled into something and it end up to be something else because we got to put our stamp on it. And I'm just, yeah, we was misled on that one, but thank you. I appreciate it, Ryan.
Anything else, Councilwoman?
That's it.
Councilwoman Noel?
Okay, yes. So when was this contract, when did it begin? Is it fairly new? Because honestly, maybe I'm the only council person up here. This is the first I've ever heard of a 22nd century temp contract.
1 second, I'm looking at the contract here. Unless someone yells at me the date. It looks like September 2022. September 9th, 2022 is the signature date.
Oh. And did that came before us? It came before council? Okay, all right, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, let's move on to the short-term vacation rental property tax. You got here just in time. I know this is something you're particularly interested in. So you have the council questions here and you have whatever answers they were able to provide. So do you have questions?
I do have a couple.
Okay.
Vicki wants to tell us about it.
May I ask you a question before we get started? This has been changing during the day, so yours should end up with the third bullet say, "We are following up." Is that the version that you have? That's what I was afraid of. Let me go, make copies real fast, or we just talk?
Yeah, you're waiting on an updated list?
We have 5 bullets, not 3 bullets.
There are 3 bullets. So if you pulled up the document, you would have the corrected one.
How about you talk us through it?
Yeah, just talk to us.
I don't want to interrupt your questions, but I didn't want you working from the wrong version.
Okay.
Okay. So the first thing is that LDO has shared a list of the short-term vacation rental properties to be able to see which ones were approved, issued, and non-owner occupied properties. So we got that. We have talked to Marty Haynes. In March, he provided a report to the county officials talking about the same topic. His understanding of TCA is that a single-family home is residential, even if it is used as rental property. However, Phil has done some extra research since then, and Marty Haynes had talked about a case in a nearby county. And there are now some follow-up opinions from the Tennessee Court of Appeals. Theirs is dealing with timeshares, so not quite the same, but this is an ongoing legal where these properties fit. And when I started reading the opinions, it's still legalese to me, that they clarified that the classification of real property for property taxes as commercial use was proper in this case that was at the court, that TCA does allow to classify real property according to its use, but then there's still I'm still not sure about when there is a single rental unit in a residential. So we've got, this is ongoing, and I don't know how many of your questions we can answer today, but if you want to take what we know so far and provide more questions. We'll do our best to follow up.
Phil, do you have any follow-up to the legalese
Yeah,
stuff?
actually,
Okay.
we were trying to make sure, at least as to the tax rate and how the assessor would be assessing something. And under the state law, the statute says that all real property shall be classified according to its use. And that's under 67-5801, which is the statute. And that provision has got a new subdivision in it here after short-term rentals came into effect, saying that when a parcel of real property is the principal residence of its owner and contains not more than one rental unit and is used as a short-term rental, then it'll be presumed to be residential. But it is silent on the other aspect of more than one unit. And there are two new cases that just came out of Sevier County here, because there was a dispute up there about condominium units that were in effect in Sevier County and whether they were subject to short-term rental fees. And Sevier County had a tax, at least that was a request to be taxed at 40% instead of the 25% rate in that county. And these cases initially at the trial level were determined to all be residential properties based upon the assessor's statement for that. They were appealed from that point in time, and because they were all involving timeshares, and it was a whole bunch of units up there, and there was two different cases that just came down on May the 8th of 2023, so that's the reason it's very new. But that case determined here in the Eastern Section Court of Appeals, Judge McClarty actually issued the opinion here and made a determination that those properties should be considered to be commercial. So it was based upon the timeshare units that were involved, and in one of those properties, I'm trying to see the number here, seems like it was 109 condominium units in one unit. And then the other property, I believe, was over 200 units that were together. And all of those were taxed as commercial properties here based upon their short-term rental use. So it's evolving in the law at this point in time. It will be, I guess the question still remains as to timeshares could be considered differently based upon the statute that deals with timeshare units as opposed to normal residential properties, but that's out there. And they're trying to figure out, at least at this point in time, short-term vacation rentals is fairly new in the statute here, since it's only been allowed specifically since 2017, how all that works. So, we're working on it.
So, follow-up.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess for me. So is the pattern being set that if it's used for commercial use, I'm saying families don't live there. It's
Right.
non-residential.
But it's still up to your assessor in making that determination whenever they do it, because they set the tax rate, the assessor. And I think at least the memorandum that we got on the front of it here from Vicky was dated March the 9th of 2023, and he was at least concerned at that point in time about what the court was going to do, because that case was pending at that time. But that ruling has now come down in the Court of Appeals, and I guess we need to be talking with the assessor's office about what they think they can do.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So this is an interesting moment to find ourselves in, when the assessor of property and our city attorney have both provided documents you've provided documents, he's provided verbal confirmation that this was in fact the way that the law was written. And now that we want to apply the law, that now we say, well, maybe it actually doesn't work that way, is kind of what I'm hearing. But, so I pulled up in my notes, the TCA 675801, the documents that you had provided to me, Phil, and you were referencing B2 about the parcel of property that not more than one, when a parcel of real property is the principal residence of its owner, contains not more than one rental unit, and is used as a short-term rental, the assessor should presume the classification of the property as residential. But then Section 3 itemizes out multiple elements that say you can have one more. You can have one more if it fits these categories that also would qualify as residential. But it's number 3 that triggers the commercial. You don't get to have 3 primary residences.
No.
You can have 2 primary residences under Tennessee law, is how I read this, within the state of Tennessee. And you can rent one of them as a short-term vacation, you can rent both of them as short-term vacation rentals, but you don't get to say that that your third one is, and that's the one, that's the absentee rental that should be paying commercial property tax, and it's up to the owner of the absentee rental to prove whether it's their second one or their third one.
And I think that's a problem, at least in the administration of how you get the assessment to work. There has to be an application that is pending. I'm not sure if our ordinance at least is broad enough to deal with that aspect right now. For, how many units do you have? Where are those units in connection with the process? And does the assessor then from there have a listing of those units that would not be subject to, I guess, the 40% taxation rate?
So I can see 2 solutions to that. The first is that, and the first may not be the legal way the best way to set up the process. The first would be if you own an absentee rental in Chattanooga, we send it to the assessor of property and they assess you at the commercial rate, and you can appeal that and you can let them know, hey, this is not mine. This is not mine, and I will now file the appropriate affidavit with the assessor of property as listed in TCA. The second would be that we add a little checkbox to our application that says, this is my, under TCA, this meets this criteria, and either you tell the truth or you commit tax fraud.
Right. And that would fit the aspect of the written affidavit, at least that would verify that they have no more than one additional unit.
Seems like a very simple change to make. And we've been leaving revenue on the table since 2017. This is a missed opportunity for us, and it will be very interesting to know with the 338 absentee rentals, how many of those are going to be able to produce an additional 15% of tax revenue. That's important revenue to know about. And in a tight budget year, this could make a real difference. So, Vicki, are we on the same page about what we're trying to get to? Because the way that this, on the document I have with the 5 bullets, which I understand is not the most current, but there is an item that says requested to add residential versus commercial zone to the list. So in the future, once applications open again, any absentee would be in a commercial zone.
We're going to have to work with them to see what kind of information. You zeroed in on the part of TCA that bothered me, is that you could have one additional residential. So how do we find that third, and how do we deal with that? And I don't know the answers just yet.
I think it would be good for the owner of the property to have to prove that versus us to have to do the digging.
Right.
Given the fact that these are understandably often in LLCs and different setups that are opaque. I don't think the onus should be on the city of Chattanooga to have to find that so much as this is the assumed tax category that you are in unless you prove otherwise. And I imagine there are some documents that you have to provide as part of that to prove that this is not, that this is intentionally your primary residence and so on. So the residential versus commercial zone, we're going to have kind of the legacy units, right? The ones that are in residential areas, that these are the ones that are the trickier ones, because moving forward, if it's in a commercial zone, we will tax it as commercial property, yes?
That's where we're going to have a conversation with the assessor. Because my conversation with him was he didn't think zoning was.
Okay, because it goes back to actual use, not the zone.
Right.
Okay, so we have to work with full-time resident, one of your 2 permanent residences
Right.
as an individual.
I think so.
And
And
a
they-
corporation doesn't have a primary residence, I don't think.
But the owner of the property has to file a statement once a year saying they've only got one on here. That's what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be done by September 1st of every year according to the statute.
Once we have it seems to me, Vicky, that right now with 338, it would be a relatively simple calculation to take the current assessment and be able to estimate what 15% more would be. If it were at the 40%, so that we would be able to know how much effort we as a city need to put into this, right? Because if it's a very small amount of money, then in terms of where it fits on the priority list, it might be lower. But if it is a large amount of money, the kind of money that helps us work toward our goals as a city, it's not money we should leave unattended.
And those cases involving Sevier County were 283 in one and 140 in the other. So there was a significant amount of property tax that they were looking at up there.
Chairwoman Burrs, could we plan on perhaps an update on this in a month? A 30-day check-in?
Absolutely.
I like that.
That would be
And if
terrific.
you have any more concerns, please email and let us know so that we can make sure that we're addressing them.
I would only add, as part of the check-in, it would be, we have one other council person that may want to add more, a check-in relative to the law. How can one person have two primary residences?
It's nicely written so you can have a condo in Nashville.
It's specifically talking about not more than one rental unit anyway in that regard. And it's saying you have to file something annually with the assessor's office saying you comply with the statute. And that's what it's saying.
So maybe we need to parse that a little.
Sure.
I'm sitting two primary residences, come on. For all kinds of reasons, come on.
Yes.
Like driver's license, like.
Where you vote?
Where you vote. I mean, I can
All
vote
of it.
here and then I can vote there and what's there is no problem.
If we start peeling that onion, we could.
Councilman Ledford.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Vicki, on the heels of that, and thank you, Councilwoman Hill, we've talked about the 25 and 40 for a few years now. Vicki, in your notes on that with Assessor Haynes, will you please add in UGC is probably our most popular zoning along with RTZ in the city of Chattanooga. We primarily, I don't have anybody here from RPA, do I? No, I would say primarily UGC is used in the residential side, not on the commercial side. But given our new STVR regulations with the 25% cap, I think we will see a lot of UGC residential use capped at utilizing the 25%. So I would be interested to see how we're addressing that as far as the 25 and the 40%. Obviously, with the zoning not being the category, but the use.
You hit on a conversation that our city attorney and I had today.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Oh, well, very good. So if you can just add that kind of on your list. I don't know if you're ready to answer that.
I
or-
cannot answer that,
Okay,
but we have
okay.
had that question.
Yeah, but it sounds like a good question that
This
you
is
all
a
had.
developing topic.
Okay, very good. I think we're on top of this right now, so I feel good. All right, thank you.
Are you
Madam
good,
Chair.
sir?
Yeah, thanks.
So, Madam Chair, I respectfully request that 30 days, 4 weeks from now, on the agenda, we have a Budget and Finance Committee meeting. I see no one else. Are there any other? Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Says my,
Hit your light, please.
it's saying I'm disabled.
Oh, we're on community microphone right now.
Most people want, okay, good, thank you,
Okay.
Chair. Ryan, now, honestly, I was really trying to sit here and just be a good council person today, but I'm really troubled about this. I understand that the need that you all want to use temp agents and that kind of stuff, but it just don't add up. I mean, I don't know if this that Common Core kind of stuff that I don't understand sometimes, but I want to schedule a time to meet with you and Amanda and HR to kind of go over this contract more in depth, because number 12, we can terminate for convenience. We just got to get them, any section of the contract we can. So we can say we don't agree with, the hiring people, and I'd like to know who all have actually transitioned to become full-time employers. It's just a lot of other questions that I think we can really work on, and maybe you can help me feel a bit more comfortable. And then E as well with the background checks, because we ban the box on some stuff. Like, although the ones that they're rejecting because of background checks that come back that may not be favorable for them, are they really sending them to our HR department so they can comb through to say, you know what, they're actually a good fit for us, that we can really use this individual. And so, but it's other questions that I have, so I'll just email you for a time. We can
Yeah,
meet.
no, happy to set up some time with you, me, and Mandy, and we'll talk through it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, is there anyone else that has anything? Well, then, we'll adjourn now until,
Attorney Klein.
I was just getting ready to say that, but thank you all for correcting me. We will adjourn now to attorney-client. God, y'all are excited about attorney-client, okay.